grab a beverage. Let's talk Midyear Freakout. I love this book tag. And I'm so glad this is the second time I get to do it. So freaking fun and get to talk about everything I've done this year, everything I've read, and kind of give you my rundown as to how it's going so far. So that's really cool. So yeah, I guess we're just gonna get right into it. Grab a drink, sit and chit chat with me here for a little bit. I got a big old stack of books right over here. Let's get this guy in shot maybe. There we go. Look at that. Look at this monster. It's a big stack of books. So I hope that you guys like this. Anyway, let's get started. Let me kind of just talk about the year really quick so far. It's 2024. I never thought I'd live this long, to be perfectly honest. Where the heck did 2024 come from? So the reading year so far has been pretty good. I haven't been reading as consistently probably as I should. A lot of things have been going on, very busy family life, busy work life recently also, and just kind of things that have distracted me from actually sitting down and committing to reading a lot. I did have a couple of little vacations and time off, so that kind of helped get me to read a bit more. But I pledged at the beginning of the year, like I do probably every year now on Goodreads, is 100 books for the year. I am currently sitting at 38 books, which isn't terrible. And by Goodreads calculation, I should meet my goal if I keep reading 2.5 books every week. So who knows? Who knows if I'll actually make it to 100? I don't think I'm going to make it to 100. I really don't this year. But if I'm close, it's good enough for me. I don't care. I don't feel pressure from Goodreads because it's just Goodreads. It doesn't affect me that much. I had a lot of 5 stars so far this year. It hasn't been a terrible reading year. There's nothing I hate. There was one, I just didn't really like it so much, but we'll get into that in the questions. So yeah, I guess we'll talk about the questions and the books now. I've got the questions on my phone. So here we go for the Midyear Freakout for 2024. First question is, what is the best book you've read so far in 2024? The best book I have read so far in 2024 is none other than The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. I love this book. It had been 7 years since the last time I had read it. And oh my gosh, I'm so glad I decided to go ahead and pick it up for the first time in 7 years. So good, even better than I remembered it being. There was a little while that I was like, oh, I think The Hobbit's actually a little bit better. No, this is even better. This is even better than The Hobbit. I absolutely adore this book. It's so good. It's cozy. It's just fun. The whole book is great. I love this book so much. It has everything in it. Probably everything Dungeons and Dragons, it was inspired by this book. Absolutely everything was in here. So I loved it. Loved rereading it for the umpteenth time. I used to read it quite a bit back in the day when I was a kid. It was my favorite book really then. It's pretty much my favorite book to this day still. Absolutely love it. The Game of Tomes was the reason I went ahead and picked it up and decided to reread it again because they were doing the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy for the Game of Tomes, which I did go ahead and reread all 3 of the trilogies. It was really, really good. So, best book of 2024, really old book from the 70s. All right, so question 2 is the best sequel you've read so far in 2024. So I have 2. One of them is Anne of the Island by L.M. Montgomery. This is part of the Anne of Green Gables series. This is after Anne is done with primary school and she goes to college, and she and Gilbert are both in college, and they kind of establish more of their relationship in this book and kind of a realization that, oh, we love each other. And it's just such a sweet book. It's so good. I enjoy the crap out of it. It's so cozy. This This is like a number one cozy book. Anne of Green Gables and then this one right after it. Very, very cozy. Just kind of reminded me of those, days when you're young and you're in college and you're learning. And Anne was basically learning to be a teacher. And it's just really so good. I loved it. Just made me smile, made me happy, all of those good things. And yep, one of the best sequels I've read this year. The other really good sequel I read this year was The Return of the King by J.R.R. Tolkien. Just the end of the trilogy is so epic and monumental. The battles in this, the romance in this, Faramir and Aragorn, the perfect men, the perfect representation of masculinity in my mind. But this is a great sequel. Absolutely love this book. And the poor cover on this was just falling off at this point. So bad. Third question is new releases that you haven't read yet but want to. So I don't have any of these, right? No, I don't have any of these, so I'll probably just put it up right here. So new releases that I want to read are The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I've read just about everything else that Leigh Bardugo's put out except for the whole Six of Crows series. I need to read those two. But I like her writing. I liked Hellbent and I liked Ninth House a lot. So I'm really looking forward to reading The Familiar. It's going to be very different, but I hope it's really good. The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden. This has been recommended over and over again by Olivia Reads a Latte, and I watch her a lot, so I think that I'll like that book, because I tend to like the same things that she does. She just has a really good opinion on a lot of stuff, I feel like. Feybound by Sarah Arifi. I hope I said that right. It just looks like a really, just another Fae type of possibly romance. And I like the cover a lot. I think the cover is gorgeous. So I don't really know anything about it other than just the cover. But I'm hoping it's really good, and I hope that I'll enjoy it. Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands. I read the other Emily Wilde book, and I adored it. And I've heard many people say that this one's just as good, if not better. So I'm going to go pick that up pretty soon and read it. I may read it in the fall, winter. I'm not sure when it takes place, but I know that the last book took place in a wintry landscape. So I don't know if they're going to do the same thing again there. So we'll see. I may pick this up fall, winter, and read it then. The next question is the most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I don't really have one. I've looked at several lists of books that are supposed to be coming out, and there's really just nothing that I'm interested in. So all the books I just talked about before, most of the books that I anticipated this year have already come out. So maybe 2025 will have more. I just don't know yet. I am wondering when the next books by Stephanie Garber are coming out. Also, Thea Guanzong. I'd like to get the next book in the series that she's putting out. And then Holly Black, probably. Those are the authors I really want to see more work from. I just haven't heard of their next books coming out anytime soon. Maybe next year. So, we'll see. That's what I'm anticipating to come out soon, and just kind of waiting impatiently for, because I want more books from those authors. They're so good. My biggest disappointment of 2024 has got to be, unfortunately, Robin Hobb's Assassin Apprentice. Is that what it's called? Assassin's Apprentice. I didn't like it. I don't know. There's so many people that love the Farseer trilogy, love Robin Hobb's writing. I just didn't get anything out of this book. I don't know why. I was bored with it pretty much throughout the entire book, and I just didn't like it. So Give me a reason to like it. Tell me that the next book is even better than the first book. I mean, I didn't think the magic was bad or anything. I just felt like the whole story was boring and it didn't really go anywhere. So if the story actually goes somewhere and it's a bit more exciting in the next book, let me know. Because then that's the only reason I'll pick up the next book, if it actually gets more interesting. But yeah, otherwise I just didn't care. Didn't give me a reason to care. And maybe that's bad. Maybe I didn't get it. I don't know. But I didn't care. The biggest surprise for 2024, and this really surprised me because I didn't think I was going to like this book when it initially came up for my holds from the library. And this book was on hold for weeks. I mean, like 12 weeks. It was A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa. Tell me if I'm really butchering this. I'm so sorry. Hafsa Faizal. It was a fun book. I didn't think it would be as fun as it was. The whole story was really fast. I liked the pacing. It was just really rapid. There was a lot of action in it, a lot of talking, a lot of deception. Just a really interesting story all around. And it kept me interesting even until the very end. And I loved the end. I thought the end of this was fantastic. So I'm not going to spoil it for you, because hopefully the next book will, wrap everything up in a nice little bow. I don't know if this is going to be a duology or a trilogy or anything like that, but I really liked the end. So pick it up if you want an interesting and different ending than most other stories that you read. It doesn't wrap it all up with a nice little bow. It's interesting. So my new favorite author is Alexander Pushkin. I had not read any Alexander Pushkin before, and I'm trying to expand my Russian author reading this year a little bit, a couple of authors. So I picked up Eugene Onegin, and I adored Eugene Onegin. It is so beautiful. It's so poetic. It's to die for. The prose are to die for. It's just such a beautiful book. Love the hell out of it. So if you're interested in something if you're interested in something really lyrical, really beautiful, pick up Eugene Onegin. It's just gorgeous. It's so gorgeous. It was one of the better reads. I probably would have put this in the best read, the best book category, but Fellowship of the Ring still beats it out for me. Let's see here. A book that made me cry. Oh my gosh, I wailed and I cried and could not handle life, I think, for a little while. And I don't know if I should curse Ellen Montgomery or if I should hug Ellen Montgomery sometimes, because she just makes me feel things. But she made me so sad in Anne's House of Dreams. Anne goes through, she's at her adulthood at this point, and she goes through a lot of loss in this book. And boy, is it affecting. And she's experienced a loss in a way that I am so glad that I never have. But it made me wail and it made me cry, and I had to put down the book, and I couldn't go back to the book for weeks because of certain happenings, certain events in this book. And if you know, you know, and I'm not going to go into further detail. But it's still a good book. Let's see here. The book that made me happy. So again, I mentioned it earlier, Anne of the Island. This book just is pure joy. It's just like the first Anne of Green Gables. In a different way, of course. She's a different part of her life. But this is just saccharine and full of joy, and it's wonderful, and it's just a pleasure to read. In fact, I cannot wait to read this one again, actually, after I finish all of the Anne series, which is one thing I'm trying to do this year. The other book that made me happy, because I was kind of at a bad point. Well, I don't have it here. Ugh, shame on me. Kind of at a bad point when I was getting into February and March. I don't know what happened to my brain. Something changed, and I have no idea what it was. Probably me and my body and my nervous system processing trauma from the past like 3 years. We've had I mentioned it before, we've had a lot of death in our family. Me getting a little bit older probably didn't help anything. I don't know if I'm perimenopausal or what, or there's just weird hormone changes going on, but something changed, and I started kind of having panic attacks. I've talked about this a little bit in some other videos recently, so I will not go into all of the details with that, but everything's kind of handled with the panic attacks right now. I'm doing way, way better than I was, and I'm learning to live with it. But during that time, when I was kind of experiencing it at my worst, I decided to pick up the book Emma, because I hadn't read Emma in a while, and it was getting into that kind of nice spring time of year, and it was just beautiful. I love that book. Emma is such a beautiful story, a beautiful book. Some people don't like Emma as a character, but I love Emma as a character. She's just awful in the best ways possible, and she just kind of shows, human fallibility in so many ways that I know that we all experience. Just the things that we would do, try to manipulating the world around us, but she was just a bit more not pragmatic about it, but a bit more forward about it. Would do those things that we think about doing ourselves but never actually attempt to do. So anyway, Emma made me so happy to read Emma again, and I just love that book. It's so good. Let's see. The next question is the most beautiful book you have bought this year. I've bought a couple, but again, it's probably these Chiltern classics that I feel like are just beautiful books. So I picked up Mansfield Park. They happen to have it at Half Price Books, and it's a perfect copy. They normally sell for about $25, but I picked it up for $15, so it wasn't bad. So that's Mansfield Park, and they always have that kind of nice shiny gold foiling on the edges. And then I also picked up The Tenant of Wildfeld Hall, which I did read before, and it's really pretty too. It's got this nice gold, and all the flowers on it are kind of a yellowy gold color, and it's just they're just gorgeous additions, and I like them for trophy books. I actually have not read Mansfield Park. This is like the one of the 6 main Jane Austen novels that I actually haven't read. So I'm going to go ahead and read this for Jane Austen July. I don't know if I'll read out of this copy or if I'll read out of the large collection that I've got in my bookcase. But yeah, I plan on reading Mansfield Park. I've seen the movie, and I think I remember most of the plot, but I haven't read it, so looking forward to that. Then, as far as other beautiful books, I'm learning to make books, and well, actually to just bind them. So I took a ratty old copy of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and I made my own. So I went ahead and did it like a cloth-bound classic, sort of, and put end papers on it. And you can see that this is just the paperback edition paper there. And there's the other end papers. I just picked some cardstock paper that I had for end papers. And then I did the binding myself, and I added a ribbon. The mistake I made when I was making it is I didn't realize that I had put the ribbon in backward, so it actually goes up like this, where it really should have been up and down, but that's okay. I've seen other books done this way, where it is, where the ribbon is coming from the bottom of the book, so it's not like I did a really bad job or anything, but you know, I did the spine and the front cover, and how I did this was with a Cricut machine and heat vinyl. They call it HTV, heat transfer vinyl. And so with the Cricut, I was able to make the Harry Potter logo at the top, and I also was able to put Harry Potter at the side there, and found a PNG of Hogwarts Castle and made kind of just this little design for it. And it turned out so well. I'm just so impressed with how well this turned out. So I think what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to next fix my copy of The Return of the King. So what I'll do is I'll just take off the cover, because like you see here, it's really, really bad. I'm going to take the covers off. I'm going to make a new cover for it and bind it as a little hardbound, or a little cloth bound, actually. And I have the design and everything. It's got the tree of Gondor, the white tree of Gondor on it, and it's going to be pretty. I'm really looking forward to making it, but I shouldn't go into that here probably. But those are my pretty books, my most beautiful books for the year. I'm just so pleased with how nicely that Harry Potter book came out. Books that you need to read before the end of the year. Oh, this is a big one. So 5 books I want to read before the end of the year. And the one that's not, the rest that are not in this are the rest of the Anne of Green Gables series. And I think I've got like 3 left in that. So just keep that in mind too. So I guess the first one I'll talk about will be the Silmarillion. I have never read the Silmarillion, but after reading, especially the Fellowship of the Ring, there is so much lore kind of dropped on you in the Fellowship of the Ring that it's fascinating to me, and I know that all of that lore was expanded upon in the Silmarillion. So I want to read this, and I want to become even more of a Tolkien nerd than I already am, and know all the background stories that are referenced in the Fellowship of the Ring. So I think that'll be fun. I have been meaning to get to this one for a while. Sally Rooney's Normal People. Every time I pick it up and I read a little bit of it, I just put it back down again. I don't know if that's a sign or what, but I am interested in it. It's just I haven't been able to really stick to it. I think if I get done with other books that I want to read and my slate's pretty clean, I'll say, then I'll pick this one up and just completely dedicate time to it, because I know it won't take me long. It's a fairly short book. But yeah, this one I need to get to before the end of the year. I just got this one and I'm so excited to read it, and I want to read it so bad. But I'm holding back a little bit. I may begin it next month, but this is a chonker of a book. It's, a little over 500 pages, but it is Queen Margot by Alexandre Dumas. Absolutely love Dumas. I loved The Count of Monte Cristo. I loved The Three Musketeers. I need to read The Man in the Iron Mask too. I think that one would be really good. But I really want to read Queen Margot, because this is supposed to be absolutely interesting. A lot of political events going on in this book. The marriage of Queen Margot to Marguerite de Valois to Henry de Navarre. Yeah, there's a lot of Protestant and Catholic conflict in here, and I think the massacre of the Huguenots or something like that. Some really big massacre occurred during the wedding. So, this wedding that occurred was, I think, some of the reference for the Red Wedding in A Game of Thrones. And it just sounds so fascinating to me. So I can't wait to read this. Apparently, Alexandre Dumas really took the historical events and fictionalized it a lot. So it's not an accurate portrayal of everything that's happened. So I'm keeping that in mind when I read this. Because that is the one major criticism I have seen when people talk about this book, is it is not accurate. So, but yeah, anyway, I cannot wait to read this. I'm so excited. And I just love Dumas' writing. I love translations of his writing. Whoever does the translations of his writing is really good. All of them that I've read so far anyway. I want to read Fyodor Dostoevsky, and I think a good place to start is probably Crime and Punishment. So I just picked this one up not too long ago, a couple months ago, and really want to read this one, just to continue to expand on my Russian literature. I think it's going to be fascinating. I've heard nothing but good things about Crime and Punishment, and I cannot wait. And then one I really want to get to before the end of the year, if possible, is Paradise Lost by John Milton. And just because I want to be that person, one of those people that can say, I've read Paradise Lost and understand the references in literature, because I see it referenced in literature and film everywhere. And so I kind of want to understand the source material. So I want to get to know Milton a little bit better than I do. So anyway, that is the books I need to get to before the end of the year. We'll see if I actually get to them or not. And the last question is favorite book to movie adaptation. Well, that's Emma. And it's probably every Emma adaptation that's ever come out on film. I love that story. I love every movie I've seen of Emma and every adaptation of Emma. I don't think that there's one I've hated. But the most recent one with Anya Taylor-Joy Gray or something like that. I can't remember what her name is. I'll put a poster up here or something like that. But the most recent adaptation of Emma was really good. Very pretty, very pastel. I loved the coloring in that movie. It was so good. But yeah, that is my mid-year freakout tag for 2024. I hope that your 2024 has gone really well. I hope that you're meeting all your reading goals and you're going on many wonderful reading journeys. And I guess I'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now.